podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Wynn and welcome to How Are the podcast. And you join us as we gather not long after the final whistle at the Stadium of Light on a night that has seen Sunderland score 3 goals in a Premier League game for the third time this season and the first time since we put 3 past Bournemouth at the end of November as the lads beat Burnley 3-0. And just to put it out there, Andrew did call this on the preview. He did say it would be a 3-0 win. And it was about as comfortable as it gets against a pretty dire Burnley, it has to be said. But it just shows the gulf we've now put it between ourselves and the likes of Burnley, who look doomed to go back down yet again. So I have 2 very happy gentlemen ready to give their initial reaction on a good win for Sunderland. And first up, we have Brett. Hello, Brett.
Hello, mate. How we doing? You all good?
I am good. We were just kind of chuckling a little bit before we started recording. Not sure I remember a more kind of comfortable win than that.
It was actually quite a bizarre 3-0 win, wasn't it? To say, well, you use the words Burnley were dire. I'd say they were just rubbish. To think that, this time last season, we're chasing them, trying to, hang on to their coattails, trying to, get those top 2 slots, and we're a million points behind or something, they kept telling us. And we're just a world away from them all of a sudden.
Yeah. What was it, 26 points that finished ahead of us?
It was 24, 26. 24. It was something like that. I can't. Yeah, it was. I think I just literally heard them say before we came on. I think we've almost flipped it now. We're there or thereabouts from what it was. So, yeah, they were garbage. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I can't remember. I meant to write it down, but I think the first shot on target was. I remember being past the hour, thinking they still haven't had a shot on target, but I can't even remember if they had one in the end. To be quite honest, But anyway, next up we have Michael Dunn. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Chris. All good. Yeah, just echo those comments. One of the most relaxing matches ever. It was actually like meditation watching Sunderland tonight for once. First time in probably my whole life. This has to be one of the most comfortable Premier League games I've ever seen us play.
Yeah, well, it is one of them, and it felt that we were watching it on the box, but it's one of them where you're watching it and you're almost feeling like you can almost see the crowd filtering out before the end. And when you're watching it on the box, you're kind of losing interest because it's over. But in some ways, it's strange because we almost have to try and enjoy these nights because it doesn't happen that often in the Premier League, does it?
No, exactly. And a few of my mates were texting me that were there, were saying 20 minutes into the first half, lads were saying, "Oh, we'll go for our first point now," after because it was just so relaxing. But exactly, tougher games ahead, and we've gone through the mill over the years with some bad results, so take it when we have it, because there'll be another tough one around the corner, I'm sure. But we'll enjoy tonight, cherish it.
Well, exactly. This is the thing, we're talking about routine and all this sort of stuff, and but as Brett said, Michael, that we overturned a 20-odd point deficit on Burnley, and we've turned that around. And then to just go and swap them aside like this and still be unbeaten at home, it's almost like because it was so easy, it feels a bit flat, but we almost should be celebrating all of this.
Yeah, it goes to show the direction the 2 clubs have gone, and we've completely just gone the upward trajectory, and they've just gone the opposite way. They've a really bad run of form coming into it, but it just goes to show that, goes back to the recruitment in the summer. It's unbelievable, some of the players we bought in comparison. Burnley spent a good bit of money considering their kind of stature in comparison to us, but we bought so well, and we didn't even spend huge amounts of money on the players we got. There would have been similar levels to Burnley, but our recruitment was so much better, and it goes to show the way we're going this season is unbelievable in comparison to them. Almost going into February, we're 4 points away from 40 points. We're nearly there, nearly there already. You get to 40 points to see what happens after that.
still on that 40-point mark. It is Sunderland, isn't it? We have gone down on 40 points, so we do need 40 points. But Brett, the other thing, like I said, we just have to mention before we get into it, 12 unbeaten at home. It is absolutely ridiculous, isn't it?
It is, and I think especially more so if you think back, a couple of years when we were in the lower leagues, where teams would come up and this was their cup final, and we actually would sometimes struggle to get wins at the Stadium of Light. I think even looking further out in the previous Premier League days, did we nearly go a whole year not getting a win. I think it's by a day we avoided not getting a year without wins and all sorts of horrible stats that used to be, was our flagship bearer, I think. But
Yeah.
no, to be the only team in the Premier League unbeaten at home, I must admit, I thought it could be a typical Sunderland today that Burnley of all teams would quash that record. But I think we've said quite a few times now, we're not typical Sunderland anymore. We're actually a really, really good football team. So it's it's very refreshing to see.
Yeah, it is funny. I was talking on Man United fun on the school run this morning, and I actually said I'm more worried about this one being Burnley being a banana skin than anything else. But let's just, before we get into the actual game and the action, let's just talk about, because an hour before kickoff, of course, Michael, the transfer window closed, and it was a bit of a strange one all round. I mean, I was keeping up to date on the BBC, and they were calling it a snooze fest and all that sort of stuff. That it was one of the most boring transfer windows in a long time, and it kind of was for Sunderland. But I think in most other years, most people would have had a pop at Sunderland for not doing as much, whereas this season everyone's quite relaxed about it.
Yeah. But there's no value for money really in the January transfer window. Like you see that Crystal Palace spent, I think, 45 million on Strand Larson from Wolves. I think he's got one Premier League goal this season. Just shows how desperate some clubs are at the moment. And like I mentioned earlier on, it goes back to our sort of recruitment in the summer, that it's great to be at this point now where we actually don't need to get anyone at all. Like I was sort of thinking, like, obviously we'll get into who left, but if no one left, we didn't really need to bring anyone else in. And it just goes to show how amazing we did in the summer. Kind of some of the numbers banded around, like, really, do you ever get value for money in the January transfer window? I don't think so. Like, weren't in a desperate situation, so there was no real need for us to spend a lot of money on a player that really they wouldn't start for us at the moment. Like, I don't think there's any player, any position that we need to really have a replace for a starting player at the moment. So it wasn't really any point to get anyone in, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, I will just point out on that value for money that we did get Enzo Lafay in the January transfer window and get him to sign pre-contract for
Just edit all that out now.
absolute buttons. I mean, when you consider it's less than half that's just been spent on Larson from Wolves, it's and some of the money banded around on some of the players was unbelievable. But yeah, Brett. I mean, the late one, but the one on the final day was Simon Adingra, which we kind of hinted on last week when we were talking about who might come in, who might go. I think we were saying kind of Mundell might leave, Adingra might want to get more game time. To me, it wasn't that much of a surprise. I don't know if it was a surprise to you, Brett.
No, and I think he was one of the ones that I wasn't that bothered that he went. I don't think he pulled up any trees since he's been with us this season. Obviously, he got that goal against Leeds, and I thought he might, hopefully that's the start. And then, obviously, we played him. What I spoke about the Everton Cup game, didn't we? We was on the pod for that one, and he wasn't great in that game. He didn't show a player that was, this is my chance. I'm going to have to, grab it with both hands. So, no, I'm not surprised he's left. Obviously, he was only going to go if there was a placement lined up. And I think you've kind of skirted around it purposely, Chris. So I then end up mentioning his name and try and absolutely butcher how it's pronounced. Is it Angulo?
Don't ask me either, because I don't know.
That's come in.
Yeah.
So obviously we've got someone lined up ready to go. So yeah, it makes sense to let him go and try someone else.
Yeah, well, that's it. I was waiting for you to prompt that conversation, Brett. But just in general terms, Michael, because I think that the transfer window that we've just gone through, it seemed like it's been more trimming the fat and maybe doing the right thing. I think for a lot of players who have been looking for first team football, especially players who did us a good turn. Well, did us a good turn, got us promoted almost to the Premier League, the likes of Dan Neil and Anthony Patterson. But it seemed like we've just kind of trimmed the numbers down and just kept that kind of players who need first team football, getting them their minutes, putting them in the shop window a little bit maybe. And it seemed that was the focus on this window.
Yeah, just the squad looks a lot neater now. There's sort of a lot of deadwood we got rid of. Obviously, I wouldn't say all deadwood. Obviously, Dan Neil and like Sam wouldn't be classed as that, but like you said, they deserved a move. Dan Neil wasn't getting a look in whatsoever with us this year. And he's done so much for us over the last couple of years. Himself and Patterson deserved a move. Then the likes, I think, of we love. I don't know if we got rid of Abdullah Ba in the end. Is he still hanging around there? But there was a couple of other guys we got rid of as well. And the likes he held. I think he went to Sheffield United on loan. But you could kind of see even from the statements. I think Christian Speakman put out about a few of the lads that left that they kind of were very appreciative for what the lads did over the last few years and that they deserved the chance to go play football. And kind of like it was a mutual respect between the two of them. So I think it's worked out all around for everyone involved in those transfers.
Yeah. It was bizarre that I saw the BBC website when I was looking for recent updates, and I saw put up a picture of Yelda at the playoff final in the Strip, and I completely forgot he got on the pitch that day.
Yeah.
But Brett, just in general terms, you're happy with the business we got done?
I am happy with it. You know, and as Michael said there, you know, really, this isn't the time to be. You know, if you're pleased with your squad, there's no point bringing extras in just for the sake of it, spending massive money. You know, personally, I think in the centre with Xhaka being injured, could we have got someone else in maybe that position? Like if I've been really, really greedy, but you know, you're not going to get value for money as a cover player. So yeah, in the big scheme of things, I'm more than happy. Obviously there'll be a few more bodies coming during the summer. As we obviously got Europe to think about next year. So but we need a big squad.
Just on the Adingra one there, he was like, I do find it kind of interesting that we spent nearly 20 million on him, and it's kind of damning that we've given up on him already in January. Like, you wonder if there's more to that, or he just didn't settle or anything, because he did look like a player who had a bit of ability and a talent at times, but I think work rate was probably something that was letting him down. I know he got taken off at Old Trafford in the first half, but it's sort of damning given, how good we are at recruitment that we'd spend 20 million on a lad and he's gone after 3 or 4 months at the club.
But if we're going to look at that as a plus, though, Michael, that if that happens, that we see a player and we call it early, that if we just know it isn't going to work out at the club, and the club find him a deal.
Yeah. And I suppose who are we to judge the Christmas speak when the recruitment team? They get 99% of them right, but yeah, I mean, in fairness, and it looks like a good deal. We got $1 million loan fee for him as well, so we actually probably did well out of it in a way.
Well, I'd like to put out nobody in this podcast is questioning him, and if you go on social media, everyone's still questioning him, regardless of the position we're in. But anyway, let's go on to the game and let's get on to the starting lineup, Brett, because he made 2 changes from the team against West Ham, and we were talking to Ian Mertes after the West Ham game. He was expecting quite a few changes. He went with 2. He pulled out Mayenda and Mundle, who, to be fair, did have off days, but they certainly weren't the only ones who had off days at West Ham. But he pulled them 2. Diarra and Talby came in. It did seem like it was a little bit just straight from the off, just with those changes, just more dynamic, more pace in there. It just looked and felt different, didn't it?
It did do. I was at West Ham last weekend, and it was one of the worst. The first half in particular was pretty old, one of the worst this season, if not the worst. So obviously changes needed to be made. I was personally surprised not seeing Gertrude in the middle. I thought again that could have sort of strengthened things up. But as you just said there, the team is for much more dynamic, I suppose. Well, looking at the game today, you didn't need to have anything solid in the middle because Burnley had nothing, coming at us. So yeah, some good young pacey players, and in Diarra we actually had someone who was not afraid to shoot. So I said every time I come on here, if you don't shoot, you don't score.
Yeah.
That first goal, that wasn't going in. That's not his goal. It's an own goal. Hopefully, the feed did tell him at half time. By the way, that didn't count.
We're only 1 up.
I don't think he had a clue what was going on in that moment in time.
No.
Why are we doing interviews at halftime in the Premier League, by the way?
Well, I'm not sure. I would like to think, if Pep or Arteta got asked for an interview, what they would say as in response to being asked to do an interview at halftime. But I think with Sunderland being 2-0 up against Burnley, they didn't mind asking him for an interview. Would be my guess. But yeah, Michael, I mean, with those changes, I mean, were you expecting more changes after West Ham, or were you, when you saw the team sheet, you thought, that's about enough?
Yeah, I think in some ways our options were sort of limited in what he could change, because you kind of, the midfield area there was sort of depleted. I agree with Brett. Gertrude, I don't know what he's done, but he can't get into the team whatsoever at the moment. But based on today, Libre's got it fully right. I actually thought maybe Trehew might be dropped, especially after last week. The way, I don't know if he go forward at the back or whatever, but he sort of likes Hume in a hybrid role, and in fairness, Hume played very well today. I was delighted to see Diarra come back into the team. He's everything we were missing, just the energy and dynamism in midfield, and that kind of, we'll get into it. Obviously, his kind of connection with Broby was brilliant. Like, so, I was sort of, Diarra was definitely the one that kind of changed the whole kind of outlook of the team in comparison to last week.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the last time we're going to mention that, to be fair, Michael, because before we get into the action and all of the goals, of course, we'll take a quick break. So we'll be back very soon. And welcome back to How We're the podcast. And we're just about to get into the action and all of the goals, of course. But yeah, the opening period, Brett, it was really bizarre because I thought for the first 5 minutes, we just kind of let Burnley have the ball. We just like, go on then, we'll just sit back, see, we'll just bide our time. And just very slowly, you realised after, just before, well, I suppose between 5 and 10 minutes in the first goal, that we just slowly just took complete control without really realising it. We just pinned Burnley in and we just said, right, we're taking control of this game now.
Yeah, it was very sudden. So there wasn't a great deal going on. And then I think they actually said it on the commentary team that there was something like 13 passes and 8 of our players touched the ball. You're nodding there because you've written that same fact down.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've stolen that one off you.
No, I counted them, Brett.
Oh, that's of course. You would have done. See. But no, it literally was. It was quite a slow start to the game, and then from out of nowhere, bam! We're 1-0 up. And I think I don't know if I might be wrong, but is that our first goal we've scored in the first 15 minutes of this season? I'm sure we're quite slow starters normally.
That's a stat. We'll have to look at that.
I thought you might know that. I think that's right.
Like
I might be wrong.
close,
I might be wrong. I'm sure that's one of our earliest goals. Because we are normally slow starters. And I think in this game we started the same and then realised actually these are no good.
Wolves maybe were one of them, I think. I don't know if we got early one against Wolves as well.
Yeah. We'll have to have a look at that. But the goal, Michael, of course, like Brett's just said, brilliant passing move. Came into, and then it ended up with Hume, who laid it into Brian Broby, who then had Diarra running past him where he could lay it off. And it was kind of held up by the defender. I thought he'd lost the chance at one point. But then he kind of the ball laid nicely for him. He took a shot. I don't think he really cared where it went, but it took a deflection and went in. But this is, as you touched on earlier, this is all about Diarra's running, which I think we've kind of missed at times.
Yeah, and I mean, Broby has been doing that kind of hold-up play for a lot of the season whenever he's been playing, but a lot of the time there's not been the kind of distances between the midfield and the attack have been too big for him to anyone to kind of reach up to him to take the ball off him. But that's exactly what we needed. We missed the likes of Diarra and Siddiqui, that running, that athleticism from midfield to sort of connect with the centre forward. And obviously, when he got it, the shot was terrible. But as Brett said, at least he shot and it went in. And he kind of set the tone, Diarra, from that moment onwards for how we'd go on for the rest of the game. It's just great to see sort of that connection. You can see a connection building between the likes of Diarra and Broby. I just think that's really exciting for the second half of the season because we haven't really had Diarra at all this season now. So he's going to be like a new signing for this part of the season.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a new signing, isn't it, Brett? And especially to have a different type of running coming from that midfield, which we haven't had purely because of the players we've had to pick up from have been more defensive. But you can just see straight away that, there's been so many times this season where the ball's been played up front to Brian Broby and nobody's been within 20 yards of him. And it seemed like every time the ball was played up, Diarra was sprinting to get nearer.
100%. And I thought Michael actually literally hit the nail on the head there. That's been our biggest problem is getting them players up and around him. He can hold the ball up for forever, but these players, you've got to get the players around him. And I don't think it was just Diarra as well. I thought Talby in the first half was getting up and around him as well a lot. Although he was playing out far left, he was still cutting in a lot to get alongside him. So that is what we need to do. We've got this guy that literally is almost impossible to knock off the ball, and he's also deceptively quick as well. That run earlier in the game, but you just need players around him to let him lay them balls off too, and then you go again. So no, it's exciting. And if we can keep getting Diarra making those runs, then that's good things will come from that.
Yeah. And then after the goal, Michael, I mean, it just seemed like we slowed the tempo, and at times actually, and again, I'm going to put the question to you because it looked like almost we were looking overconfident with the ball at times. I mean, was that because we just are confident, or was that because Burnley was so bad?
Yeah, I actually written down 30th minute, not much happening. We're comfortable, sloppy passing. It's literally the word for
Yeah.
word what it was.
Yeah.
But I think actually Alderete was guilty for 3 or 4 hopeless passes. He tried to do these crossfield passes. Yeah, mixture of both things probably. I mean, we probably saw how bad Burnley were. They were giving us so much time on the ball. They weren't getting into us at all. No tackling whatsoever from their perspective was really, really poor. But it was kind of nice to see the likes of Lefay even on the ball, and he was kind of spraying it around a bit more, and you can show that kind of ability that he has. But it probably was just a mixture. Like, I mean, Burnley were shocking. Like, they just didn't even get a tackle in. You know what Faris Keane says? If it's not going, Roy Keane says, if it's not going for it, just hit someone and see what happens. But they weren't even doing that today. So no, I think Scott Parker would have been raging with them at half time, but because they just gave us so much time on the ball that it kind of made us look, we had the time, we had the opportunity to even play some kind of ambitious passes that went wrong, but we'll take it. I'm not complaining about it either.
Yeah. Well, bizarrely, Kyle Walker waited until they were 3-0 down in the last minute of the game where he elbowed the smallest player on the pitch, Enzo Lefay, in the face. but I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't mean anything by then. But anyway, there was a nice segue there, Michael, into Enzo Lefay's passing, because we'll come on to you, Brett, for that second goal. Because, I mean, it started again. Actually, Trey Hume, and we'll come on to him now, because Trey Hume pinged the ball into Enzo Lefay in the middle of the pitch. What a first touch by Enzo Lefay. Jamie Carragher actually pointed it out on Sky that basically his first touch took 2 or 3 Burnley players completely out of the game because he feigned to go one way and went the other. And then pinged this ball out to Michele. But I wanted to kind of point out at that point, you've got that Michele-Trey Hume partnership on that side, because it started with Trey Hume in the right back position, pinging the ball into the midfield with Enzo Lefay, which gave Michele the license just to bomb on down that right-hand side, look for the pass from Lefay, which was fantastic out to that right-hand side. Michele put the ball across, and again, Diarra in the right place at the right time, thought it was cut out, but fell nicely to him. And he scored, and we can maybe ask questions of the goalkeeper in the end as well.
Yeah, of course you can. It was, but keepers should be saving them sort of shots. Just to start, though, as you say, from that move there, though, with Michele and Hume, it's really interesting watching that right-hand side, how they work, because they're so completely different to the left-hand side with Vanildo and how Talby work. So, because Hume can still sort of duck inside, and that allows Michele on that overlap, and it works it so well. And then even if Hume needs to drop back into a defensive position, he can do. So them two are actually working in paper. For me, it shouldn't really work, actually, but it is working really, really well. But yeah, once again, like that keeper, obviously he's an ex-Mag, so we're not going to complain about him ballsing one up. But yeah, he'll be so disappointed not to have saved that shot. It wasn't like, and I said again, said on the commentary that it wasn't like it was blasted at him, from point blank range. But I keep saying it: you don't shoot, you don't score. So
you've got a new catchphrase there, Brett. But yeah, we'll bring you in on the goal, Michael, because how do you see that right hand side? Because everyone, I think it was the Palace game. Everyone said, "Oh, it's fantastic." They go away to West Ham. Everyone says it doesn't work. Then we come back again and beat Burnley, and everyone says it's fantastic again. And for this goal, it worked perfectly.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't really know what position Hume is playing half the time. He just sort of pops up everywhere. But there is a great link-up play between the two of them, and I think especially Michele, like, he's a massive threat going forward as well as his defending. He's a great outlet. He's kind of great for the overlaps there. And obviously, if you have Michele going up, you have Hume to tuck back in. So it works perfectly, and they seem to kind of have a good chemistry between the two of them. And like I said, if I don't know where Trey Hume's playing half the time, I don't know how the opposition are going to know. So it's work. It probably is something that works. Maybe could work better at the Stadium of Light in comparison to away games, but they were causing huge problems in the first half, especially there today.
Yeah. Maybe Trey Hume keeps forgetting and he's just out of position all the time. Who knows? But But yeah, just one thing I wanted to bring you in on, Brett, was, and this was a feature of the whole first half, because actually Burnley didn't get their first effort on goal until the 49th minute, by the way. Went in half-time 2-0. But one thing I wanted to mention, and it was part of that second goal, Enzo Lafay. Now, he was clearly, at times it looked like a 4-4-2 when we were pressing. But there was times when Enzo Lafay was coming back and he was right in front of the back four, picking the ball up. And this, we were talking about the transfer window, about 20 million on this guy, and he looks head and shoulders above players that are going for 40, 50 million. And especially in a game like this where he can just go where he wants, float around the pitch and just control it like he did.
I know when we talk about, our recruitment team, and, they've got, we think they've got Adingra wrong sort of thing. They've got so much credit in the bank because of buys like him. He is a wonderful, wonderful footballer. On the ball, he's an artist. He sprays the ball around. He's got a great touch. Off the ball, he's like a little bulldog. He gets stuck in. For a little guy, he will work his absolute socks off. I absolutely love him. And for 20 million, he's an absolute steal. And for 20 million, and we got him in the Championship, is mental. That. There's not like literally right now. Could you imagine who's in the in the playoffs at the moment? I don't even know who's in there.
Millwall, Wrexham.
Millwall. Well, can you imagine Millwall, right, buying Enzo Lafay right now? Just it makes no sense whatsoever that he wanted to do it. But obviously the partnership that's of him and Reggie Labrie have got, the trust in each other, the faith that they both got, and obviously Reggie's had to say enough to bring him to us in the first place. So wonderful, and he was a January signing. So there was what we said earlier. There is value out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get into the second half because actually it is a strange one, Michael. When you have a 45 minutes as comfortable as we did in that first half, and then you come out for the second half. Do you think it's difficult for the players to just? Do they almost want to kind of come down a couple of gears and just say, right, well, Burnley aren't any threat. We're just going to play the game out?
Yeah, I think the most important thing in those situations, they just don't concede early the second half. I don't know if anyone was watching the the Man City Spurs game yesterday. Obviously, Spurs conceded early in the second half, or scored early in the second half and got them right back into the game. And City just fell apart. But Burnley went 4-4-2. They showed absolutely no threat. So it was kind of, we kind of just continued where we left off. A couple of notes I had was just sort of Lafay, like you said there, just controlling the game. You just, you said he kind of dropped back there and he just sort of was a safety option there to kind of like an outlet just to get him onto the ball and then pop the passes around. And as you can see, as the kind of half went on, we'll get into it, we just got more and more comfortable. I think we kind of just stifled that Burnley threat at the start of the second half and just take it from there as the half went on.
Yeah, exactly. And there was a couple of incidents, but we'll just get into the third goal because it came with about 20 minutes to go, and it started off with Michele down that right-hand side, really aggressive. Well, yeah, don't think he really had to be against some of these Burnley players, to be fair. He just needed a sprint, and he was going to get to the ball first. But he got to the byline cross for Brobby, who really deserved a goal, but he missed out on this one, and it ended up on the left-hand side with Talby, and loads of time and space. Ridiculous. Burnley players were just watching him cut inside. But I tell you what, he still had something to do, and it looks all that sweeter, doesn't it, when it just clips the bar, Brett, doesn't it?
It was an absolutely brilliant goal. When it hits that underside of the crossbar, bounces in, bounces out again. What a strike. And I'll tell you what, my actual favourite bit about that was when they show the camera angle from from behind Talby, so you see it going in. There's one guy in that crowd who's realised that's going in before anybody else. He's up on his feet before the whole stand.
Yeah.
But what a goal. It was brilliant. It just showed Talby he's a good little player, he is. Throughout that game, there were some lovely little touches. In that first half, these little flicks here and there, back heels. I like how we're slowly bringing him into things. We showed at Chelsea scoring that goal under pressure, great goal. He scored this one. This is probably the best goal he's ever scored for us. So he's only scored 3, but he's really, really good strike. And it just it was actually quite. It was it was after that bit as well, though, where the game had gone a little bit flat, and Hume and the keeper got in a bit of a spat all of a sudden. It kind of lifted us, and I lifted the crowd again, and so it scored at just the right time. But yeah, what an absolute peach!
Yeah, and actually, I was going to say that the view from that you're talking about just showed how far the goalkeeper was away from it. I think when the ball went in, the goalkeeper wasn't even in the frame. Like you didn't even see his hands. They were
I
so
think
far.
Michael was pretty close to an island.
But just to bring you in on that third goal, Michael, because I mean, Talby at times has looked fantastic, and then he's had games where he's drifted in and out a little bit. Obviously, he's come in first season in the Premier League, and he's going to have that inconsistency a little bit. But he seems to have come back from AFCON with he just seems to be oozing with confidence, as Brett said, loads of little touches, and to pick the ball up and decide I'm going to cut inside and smash it in the top corner, you have to have some confidence to do something like that.
Yeah, and you kind of just, if you compare him even to what we we're talking about Adingra there, you've just seen those glimpses of Talby that he has something and it will come together from. Like you might not see the best of him really until next season, but he has so much ability. He's so quick and he's full of confidence and he's not afraid to shoot. So Brett obviously loves him for that reason alone. But he's definitely got something about him, and it was bizarre watching the Burnley defenders backing off from right into their own box. And it was actually quite an impressive strike because it was just outside like the edge of the box, and to get that up and down at the pace he did was incredible. And hopefully he'd kick on now for the second half of the season. Maybe the new signing of another winger might kind of motivate him a little bit more just to keep going as well. So no, really good player, and I think, as I said, he's going to get better and better, and to be even going into next season, he'll turn into a really, really good player.
Yeah. Yeah, that was with about 20 minutes to go. And of course, we made about 4 substitutions and the game kind of ran its course with us kind of just passing it about and not really that much action. But Brett, what do we take away from this? Because we've just beaten a Burnley side who were 10 points adrift when I did the opposition preview during last week. I'm not sure exactly what it is now, but essentially, let's just say they're down. And they were awful, but we did need to go and beat them. We did beat them 3-0. We did beat them comprehensively. But what do we take out of this? Because is it hard to judge because Burnley were that poor?
No, it's actually quite an important win for me today. With the next 2 games coming up being, we've got Arsenal, then Liverpool. Now, I was quite conscious of the fact that obviously we lost last week without Xhaka. If we lost today without Xhaka, if you go to Arsenal and lose without Xhaka, all of a sudden that one-man team, that monkey's on our back all of a sudden. So it's good to put that, like, an end to that straight away. We can play, we're not just the Granit Xhaka show. So for me, that was the most important thing today, was to get a good result. And like, let's say we didn't get out of second gear, really. Clean sheet, good performance, 3 goals. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And that's for me, the main thing is that we had to get a win today.
Yeah. And was that the important thing, Michael? Because, like Brett says, we've got Arsenal and Liverpool within 4 days of each other after this. And just beating Burnley in the middle of that, does that mean these next 2 games really are free hits? Because, if we hadn't gotten a result against Burnley, then you'd potentially be going 4, let's say it went completely the wrong way against Burnley, you could be looking at 4 defeats in a row. And this one was an important one to get in there.
Yeah, I think obviously there was a lot of talk after the West Ham game that, people are saying, oh, Sunderland, their form is dipping away, they're kind of fading off a bit. I think it's just important just to keep that momentum going a little bit. And, big thing for me tonight as well was actually just the likes of Diarra coming into the team and getting a kind of a big game and a couple of goals under his belt. Like, he's only going to grow with confidence as the season goes on. But, like, we have obviously got Arsenal and Liverpool coming up. I still think we can cause those 2 teams problems. I wouldn't say they're foregone conclusion that we're going to lose them. But just to quieten the noise about, especially after the West Ham game, to get reaction was something I thought was really important. And to do it in sort of the manner we did was even better.
Yeah. Just quickly on that reaction, Brett, because West Ham United, that game was the 6th time we've been beaten this season. And of course, they were all away from home, of course, because we're unbeaten at home. But every single time, So that's the 6th time this season we've done it, that we've backed it up with a home win straight after we've had a loss. So the players have, they've got this confidence to hit back straight away as soon as we go down to a loss somewhere.
Oh no, definitely, and it's great to have that. It's really important to be able to bounce back. So we don't go 2-3 games without a win, or not picking up points. So no, it's a really, really important thing, and I think it shows the team spirit. It shows that that this team do fight for each other. You see that when they score goals, how they all celebrate with each other. There's a toughness about us. Although again, we've got very, very young players in that team. We say our central midfielder, Siddiqui and Diarra were like 20 and 21. So it's great that they can have that in their mindset already to be able to fight back from adversity. So yes, it's a good thing for the team to have that in their locker.
Yeah, you talked about them celebrating a goal, by the way. It was a really strange camera angle at one point over Talby's head while there was people lying on him. I was kind of tilting my head to work out what angle he was at, to be honest. But anyway, good performance. Like I said, 3-0 against Burnley at home. We'll get a quick man of the match. We'll go with you first, Michael.
Oh, Diarra, definitely.
Yeah,
it's already brought so much energy to the team. Easy.
Yeah, and Brett?
You've got to give it to him, haven't you, really? I think a little special mentions to Broby up front. He was brilliant. I thought Towie played really well, but yeah, you've got to give it to Diarra today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to see him back. It is like a new sign, and yeah. So it rounds off a fantastic night, a fantastic 3-0 win for Sunderland. It doesn't happen too often in the Premier League, so we've got to enjoy it. So just leaves me to say thank you very much, Brett.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And thank you very much, Michael, to cover a 3-0 win. Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Chris.
And thanks again, everyone, for listening. Don't forget, we'll have loads more analysis on the Roker Report website, and we'll have pods every day this week, as usual, to reflect on the win over Burnley. We'll talk about the end of the transfer window some more, I'm sure, and the build-up to going to Arsenal at the weekend. And we will definitely have an on this week as well, so loads coming up. So look out for all of that. But from us, goodbye for now.